Here with Mr. A S Dulat. His 37-year-long friendship with Farooq Abdullah provides an intimate look at the interplay of politics, intelligence, and interpersonal relations in the very complex topography of Kashmir. The memoirs provide a very rare mix of the challenges Delhi faced in Kashmir, how dialogue could override or could paper over conflict, and of course the enduring legacy of leadership, political leadership. So your book reads almost like a romance. I'm sorry to use this very Gen Z term, but it's an outright appreciation, as you yourself admitted, of Farooq Abdullah, or Dr. Saab as you call him. So how did this very professional engagement, you were there on behalf of the Indian government to gather intelligence for it, and he was the main protagonist of Kashmir. How did this blossom into such a lovely friendship? And it's not just between you and Farooq Saab, but also between your wife and Molly, his wife, who you've written about very eloquently.
Yeah, thank you. You see, this is my 5th book, and every book is Kashmir, because that's all I know. And in fact, Kashmir made me what I am. I mean, I wouldn't be sitting here if it was not for Kashmir. I went to Kashmir very accidentally. I was 4 years in Bhopal and you were posting back to headquarters. When I was asked, would you be willing to go to Kashmir? And I always preferred staying out of headquarters, because out of headquarters one had a little bit of autonomy. So I said, of course I'd love to go to Kashmir. Little did I realize that I was getting into a big mess. But again, people believe I've served a long time in Kashmir. I haven't. I was there for just 2 years, 98 to 90. But one learned a lot of those 2 years, and I was very happy to get out of there. Because the government changed, Dr. Farooq resigned, Jagmohan came and took over, and he was not particularly fond of me, so he got me kicked out, and I was happy to leave. But Kashmir didn't leave me, and it becomes an obsession after a while, Because when I went back to headquarters, again I was planted in the same thing, and I was told, you're the most contemporary Kashmiri knowing person, so we want you to look after Kashmir. And then the story goes on. I mean, I've been to Kashmir every summer. This is the first year that I've not been to Kashmir. And yeah, of course there is professionalism, but we're all human beings. And Dr. Farooq Abdullah is not a normal human being, he's an exceptional human being. And I could go on and on and on talking about that. But what I had in mind was that I said, I've written 4 books, and I have to write a book on Dr. Farooq. I owe it to him. And that's how this 5th book came about. It's not just Farooq, of course, it's Kashmir also, if you read it. And I remember at our launch in Delhi, people saying, this must be dedicated to the Abdullahs. And I said, no, it's dedicated to Kashmir and Kashmiris. And incidentally, thank you, Judge Saab, for coming here, because there was a former Chief Justice of the Supreme Court who let us down in Delhi. And my editor was very worried. She said, now what? The chief guest is not coming. I said, don't worry. I always have a chief guest, and my chief guest is Kashmir. So that's how it is, and that's how it has been. And when you know somebody for 37 years, it's a long, long time, and you get to know a lot of things. I haven't written about everything that I know, but whatever I've seen, he is a wonderful human being. And I have no doubt in saying that he's the tallest leader in Kashmir among a lot of pygmies. He's one of the tallest leaders of the country. And at the launch in Delhi, one of my colleagues stood up and said, "What are you saying? He's one of the tallest leaders in the world." So that may be an exaggeration, but he's a very, very big man. Jagat Saab is sitting here. He worked with, as his police chief with Dr. Farooq. And you can ask him what he thinks about Farooq.
So, you called him very interestingly at one point, Farooq is Kashmir, if I'm not mistaken. Farooq is Kashmir. He's part of a transitional generation. He's the son of the Sher-e Kashmir and the father of the Hope of Kashmir. So these are very, very big words, a lot of praise.
Yeah, big words for a big man. The point is that he is Kashmir.
But
there's nobody, as I said, nobody even half his size. He is the national conference. And I never had the privilege of seeing or meeting the Sheikh. And if you go to Kashmir, everybody will tell you that Kashmir has had only one leader, and that was Sheikh Abdullah. I sometimes feel, having read whatever I have read of Kashmir history, that Farooq will ultimately go down in Kashmir history as a bigger person than his father.
And you also mentioned that Farooq has always been a nationalist.
No doubt about that.
And that he always, he did not want to swim against the tide. He was very clear, I do not want to go to jail. Why would I do that? And so when you say Farooq is Kashmir, is there a dissonance somewhere, at least in popular mind? Because in the popular perception, Kashmiris do feel very discriminated against, and they do feel the need for more autonomy.
That's a very good point. And Farooq has tried his damnedest to try and get something for Kashmir. But he knows Delhi very well, and he knows what the limitations there are. And I'll remind you of a very interesting story. It was 2014, and I was there. And it was the year that the National Conference surprisingly lost all the 3 seats in the valley. Farooq himself lost his seat from Srinagar. And I was sitting with the Chief Minister, Mufti Saab, who was riding very high. Mufti Saab was not particularly fond of me because he felt I was Farooq's man. But in our professional journey, we are nobody's man or man. You have to do a job and you do a job. And he said, तुम्हारा दोस्त हार गया है. मैंने कहा ये तो बड़ा अफसोस है. He said, no, but he's a very big man. He'll always be remembered in Kashmir. But Mufti was being cynical. Then I went to meet Maulvi Iftikhar, the senior most Shia leader, who I knew better. And he said the same thing to me. अफसोस है तुम्हारा दोस्त इलेक्शन हार रहा है. I said, sir, दोस्त तो आपका भी है. He said, हाँ है, पर माने तो ना. So we talked, and at the end of it, he said something which is stuck in my mind, and it's very significant to answer your question. He said, Farooq actually is God's gift to Kashmir. He says because Delhi only wants to manage Kashmir. Delhi doesn't want a settlement of Kashmir. And there is nobody better than Farooq to manage Kashmir because he understands Delhi's skullduggery better than anybody else.
And so you've also described